the future of our country. May we move forward from this election process with a stronger democracy, where all voices are counted and heard. May we put our faith in the good will of our leaders to help us weather these storms of pandemic, economic uncertainty, and put aside partisan agendas for the good of us all. Our service will begin tonight with Eli, Eli, a setting of a poem by the Israeli paratrooper Hannah Senesh, who lost her life in the Holocaust. I invite you to remember to use the link for the prayer book in the chat on Zoom, in the comments on Facebook, or by clicking the button from your live stream screen. And you can also find our healing list and our Kaddish list on our website under the Worship Shabbat tab. But now I invite you to take a deep breath to let all of the past week's stresses go as we join searching for Shabbos peace together. שלא ייגמר לעולם החול והים רשרוש על המים ברק השמיים תפילת האדם החול והים רשרוש על המים ורק השמיים תפילת האדם. Oh Lord my God, I pray that these things never end. The sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the hearts, the sand and the sea, the rush of the waters, the crash of the heavens, the prayer of the heart.
As we prepare to light our candles on page 2, I offer this iyun to prepare us for doing just that. On this Shabbat Eve, we see the world in a new light. We add new spirit to our lives. We taste a new time for peace. We rest from desire for gain and ambition for things. We raise our eyes to look beyond time and space and toward eternity. May we come to always see the world in a new light. As it is written, let a new light shine upon Zion, and may it be our blessing to see its splendor.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat. We continue with Kiddush on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kadsho v'ahavatan hinchilanu zikaron dema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom techila lamikra kodesh Lechadetzihat Mitzrayim, Ki banu bacharta, Yatzanu kidashta, Mikol ha'amim, V'shamah ha'kadshecha, Ve'avah u'ratzon, Hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. L'chaim.
L'chaim. We continue on page 12, welcoming Shabbat with Psalm 95, Lechu Neranana.
Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Lechon Ranana Ladonai, Nariya Litzor Yeshenu, Kadma Fana Betoda, Mismirot Nariya Lo, Mismirot Nariya Lo. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Let us sing unto God a new song. Let us sing unto God a new song. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la. Yeah, la 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 la.
We continue on page 22, singing Tov Lehodot.
Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shircha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shircha elyon. L'hagid b'boker chastecha, ve'emunatcha b'leilot. L'hagid b'boker chastecha, ve'emunatcha b'leilot. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shircha elyon. Tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shircha elyon.
We turn back to page 20 to Lechado D. We're going to do verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we reach that 9th verse, Boiva Shalom, We stand and we face the entrance to our Mikdash Ma'at, our home sanctuary, wherever we are, to welcome that Sabbath spirit into our homes and into our souls. Lecha Dodi. This time, while we're going to turn to the Zoom screens around us, I invite you to unmute, to turn on your video screen so that we can wish each other a Shabbat Shalom. See, I'm asking people to unmute.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. Everybody looks terrific.
Shalom. Wonderful to see you all.
Everybody happy.
I know, it's
So
wonderful.
Good Shabbos.
Awesome. We are going to continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 26. And if you are able, remain standing through the Shema.
They can't tell the difference.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחייך בן ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שמירה במבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך וישתבח יתפאר ויתרומם ויינשא ויתהדר ויתהלל Page 28, the Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim v'chochma potach sha'arim uvitvuna mishane itim umachalif et hazmanim umsader et hakochavim v'mishmerotehem barakira kirtsono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or ma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla Adonai Tzvaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Imloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 33. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Vaed. You may be seated as we continue chanting on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol lebavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadevarim ha'ela asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha Vishinanta levanecha, v'dibarta b'ham, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lachtecha v'derech, u'shokbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot ayadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'ktavtam amizuzot beitecha, u'v'sha'arecha, Leman tiskeru v'asitem kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim leloechem Ani Adonai Eloechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim le'olachem le'elohim Ani Adonai Eloechem Emet.
We continue reading together on page 41. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Micha Mocha, page 40.
Moshe Umiya Zeli
תפארנו את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
Amen. We continue reading together on page 43 at the bottom. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue on page 44, singing V'shamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael, et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש.
We continue with the Amidah on page 46. And if you are able, I invite you to please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elokei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasei Ahavot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Yehavah, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Abraham Ezratza. Atagi boy le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atarav lehoshia, Moshiva ruach u'marid Hashem, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'ofech oholim, U'matir asurim, U'mechaye me'emunato Lishnei afar Michamocha b'gevurot U'min ha'melach Melech memit u'mechaye U'matzmiach Yeshua V'ne'eman ata le'achayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye ha'achol Atah kadosh v'sheimcha kadosh U'kadoshim b'chol yom yalelucha tzela Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el ha'kadosh.
You may be seated. Page 55 at the top. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Page 58, we read together. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai, your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. On page 61, we join together in our prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, eternal one, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom.
Before we share in a prayer for healing, we take a moment now to offer a prayer of blessing for our veterans. So I invite you, if you are a veteran of the United States military, or any military, to unmute your, well, not to unmute yourself, sorry, but to turn on your camera so that we can recognize you. Compassionate God, source of mercy, we pay tribute to those who have served our country, to express our gratitude for their courage and selflessness, both those among us today and those of generations past. This nation, built by those born of this soil and those who have come here from all corners of the earth, is on a continual journey towards its destiny. May we never let down those who have served in defense of this country. May we uphold the values of freedom, of the inherent dignity of every human being, by our own right conduct, by the kindness and tolerance we show to one another. May we lead the world by example and become, in the words of Isaiah, a light to the nations. Then will the labors and sacrifices of these veterans be honored not in words alone, but by our deeds. Amen.
Amen. We continue now thinking of those who face the future not fully whole. those who are in need of healing of mind, of body, and of spirit. We think of them, we think of the names on your screen, and we think of those who are in our hearts. We take a moment and say the names out loud of those that we are thinking of today. We join together singing Misha Barach on page 253.
May the source of strength, oh bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishebeach Imahotenu Mikor Abracha La'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen. We take a moment now for our own silent prayers.
Ose shalom, Mihim Roma, Huyase shalom, Huyase shalom, Aleinu, Yase shalom, Aleinu, Ose shalom, Mihim Roma. Huyase shalom, Huyase shalom, Aleinu, Yase shalom, Aleinu, We ask for peace on earth as we say Amen. V'yimeru Amen, v'yimeru Amen. We raise our voice as one as we say Amen.
Amen. Prepare pre-pandemic, every day in the morning before Dave and I would leave the house, we would tell each other, have a great day. We really meant it. We wanted each other to have a great day, but did we really expect that every day would be great? That we would always be happy? Probably not. It's just not realistic. In this week's Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, it begins by saying, and the life of Sarah was 107 and 20 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. Part of it seems normal in the sense that this portion discusses the life of Sarah, and it makes sense that it would start out by saying how old she was at her death. But why then does it repeat, these were the years of the life of Sarah, when it started with that? Rashi, a medieval commentator, explains that this phrase wasn't a repetition at all, but it was stating that all of her years were equally good. It's a really great sentiment, but is it really possible? Let's do a recap, shall we? In just 12 chapters of Genesis, Sarah was held hostage by Pharaoh after her husband Abram pretended she was his sister. She was barren. She told her husband to find a new woman to have a baby with so that he would have heirs. She kicked out that new mother and son. She got pregnant at the young age of 90. She found out her husband was about to sacrifice her son, and those are just the highlights. How could she really be happy every day and have each of her 127 years of life be equally as good when she's endured all of that? The Zohar, a Kabbalistic Torah commentary, discusses the theme of happiness using 3 biblical references. The text says, Eve came to the world. She became wrapped up with a snake. Noah came to the world. What happened to him? He drank from the wine and was drunk. Sarah came to the world. She descended and she came back up, as it is said, and Abram came up from Egypt, he and his wife with him. For this, Sarah earned transcendental life. That life belonged to her. The first reference is to Eve. She believed that happiness could be found only by experiencing the garden from within, meaning that she's really only concerned about her inner happiness. The snake encourages this thought process, and once Eve's experiences become wrapped up with ego, then everything else followed, making her focus only on her own happiness. The second example from the Zohar is of Noah, the man who had the chance to start over again, to abandon selfishness and look for a new way of being happy. So, what did he do? He got drunk, forgot who he was, and was happy. Besides there being a problem with only being able to find happiness with the aid of a substance, his ego was not forgotten. While the entire world was wiped clean in the flood, Noah's ego was still there. His inherent focus on his own inner happiness was still present. And again, the world became confused about what happiness looks like. Then comes Sarah. She came face to face with the ego when Pharaoh took her as his own. She was in his territory, under his captivity, and he offered her the opportunity to have her own power in his land. Sarah, however, stood her ground and refused. She remained faithful to Abraham and to God. Even though she was in Pharaoh's palace, offered wealth, power, and prosperity, she transcended that temptation, ruled over it, and ruled over Pharaoh as well. It makes sense then that this heroine was named Sarah, as the root sar means ruler. She ruled over her own happiness. The Sfat Emet, a mid-19th century rabbi, expressed that not only were the years of Sarah's life equally good, but that each and every one of them was good. Even though Sarah had many disappointments and struggles, she learned to make each year good in its own way. As such, the Sfat Emet teaches us that we must live our lives trying to emulate Sarah. We all go through our bad days and our good days, but in order to make each year a good one, we have to take the good with the bad and learn to persevere. Only then will we find true happiness. This is a pretty hard concept to think about and process in a time where happiness can seem fleeting. The world seeming to be tearing apart at the seams, people not being respectful of one another, the numbers of COVID rising all over the country, the increase and higher visibility of anti-Semitism and racism, and on and on. However, we are reminded by Sarah's life to make each day or year the best it can be. We can't dwell in the disappointments and frustrations for all time. That's not to say that we can't at all dwell in them, but that we can't stay in that mindset forever. So pause, take a second, and think about one or two things that have happened this past year that have been positive and brought happiness. What about this month? Maybe this week? Maybe today? Each night, I write in a gratitude journal and pick 3 things that I am grateful for each day. It helps put everything into perspective and forces me to choose 3 things, no matter what kind of day I had. May we take this Shabbat to remind us that while the negatives may seem overwhelming, we are in charge of our own happiness and need to be looking for those bright spots. We have the opportunity to highlight the good and be like Sarah, having a great year, month, week, or day, as long as we take responsibility for it. Shabbat Shalom. We continue now with Aleinu on page 283. And if you are able, I invite you to please rise.
Aleinu l'shaveach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, לגהור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
You may be seated. As we prepare for our memorial meditation on page 292, I want to note that earlier this week we commemorated Kristallnacht, or the November pogrom. This event refers to the Night of Broken Glass, where the shattered glass from Jewish homes, businesses, and synagogues covered the streets in Germany because of the violence carried out by rioters during November 9th and 10th, 1938. We remember the November pogrom to remind us to never let violent actions be ignored. We remember the November pogrom to remind us of our history and the nearly 100 Jews who were killed that night. We remember the November pogrom, as Cantor Rebecca Garfein explains, to demonstrate that the Jewish people have not only survived, but with God's help, together we will continue to go from strength to strength. Page 292, our memorial meditation. We have lived in numberless towns and villages, and in too many of them we have endured cruel suffering. Some we have forgotten, others are sealed in our memory, a wound that does not heal. 100 generations of victims and martyrs, still their blood cries out from the earth. And so many at Dachau, at Buchenwald, at Babi Yar. What can we say? What can we do? How bear the unbearable or accept what life has brought to our people? All who are born must die, but how shall we compare the slow passage of time with the callous slaughter of the innocent, cut off before their time? They lived with faith, not all, but many, and surely many died with faith in God, in life, in the goodness that even flames cannot destroy. May we find a way to the strength of that faith, that trust, that sure sense that life and soul endure beyond this body's death. They have left their lives to us. Let a million prayers rise whenever Jews worship. Let a million candles glow against the darkness of these unfinished lives. Our thoughts turn now to those who have died in our community at this time in years past. As we mark their yahrzeits, we remember them. Louis Alstafo, Nathan Bame, Milton Barnett, Ann Bendiner, Sherry Geller Berman, Elliot Blaine, Evelyn Breslau, Ralph Carruthers, Harry D. Coyne, Morris Epner, Sarah Bergman Feller, Sophie Feinsilver, Norman Fink, Helene Fattel, Eva Flom, Abe B. Freeman, Sylvia Garza, Ruth Goldsmith, Robert Greenberg, Joe Greens, Florence Groden, Dr. Burton Grossman, Dr. Haskell Gruber, Mary Hinojosa, Michael Allen Hoffman, Ronald Hurwitz, Freda Stern Jackson, Eddie Julius, Sylvia Kaplan, Malcolm Kasanoff, Doris Kirschberg, Eileen Crandall, Fahey Coopersmith, Marvin Coopersmith, Anne Louise Leeds, Annette Lillian, David Mossacker, Estelle Nordhaus, Marie Louise Rotette Powerstein, Max Pepper, Madeline Goldman Pincus, Charlotte Ponemon, Zelda Poulin, Florence Ratner, Arthur Raufman, Bernice Diskin Reichstein, Sydney Stein, Morris Temkin, Simon Wallach, Madeline Corinne Ware, Lillian Welsh, David Westheimer, Lillian Williger, and Martin Zimmerman. To these names, we add those who died in the past month, whose families are in a mourning period of Shloshim. We remember June Valerie Walker and Dr. J. Michael Freiberg. We also think of one who's died this past week, whose family is in a mourning period of Shiva. We remember Marshall Selman Jacobson, husband of April Jacobson, father of Edward and fiancee Claire Jacobson, Art and Lori Jacobson, and Benjamin and Leanne Jacobson, and grandfather of Allison, Abigail, Drew, Tyler, Caden, and Bella. To all of these names, we add those which are in our hearts each and every day as we rise together as one community for Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabah, be'alma divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'vyomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabah mavarach le'olam ulmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudesha b'richu, Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'imramav, u'ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. It is my honor to invite up Dr. Amy, or invite onto the screen Dr. Amy Benedict, our president of our board of trustees, to deliver tonight's announcements.
I wish I could come up on the beam and see everyone. I wish that was the case. Shabbat Shalom. I hope everyone's had a wonderful week. I guess for this night's wellness moment, I wanted to share that holidays can be really hard, and especially when we can't spend them with our loved ones. And so I just hope that all of you will find some way to connect, whether you're alone or with one other person or with your immediate family, to others that may not be as fortunate as we are to have someone else in our home with us. Shabbat Shalom. Have a wonderful week. Happy early Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Our closing song is Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu. It is on page 353.
Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Salam Aleinu Ve'al Kulam. Salam, salam, salam Aleinu Ve'al Kulam. Salam, shalom. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ojavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We are going to invite you to turn on your cameras and unmute and say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbos, everyone.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Have a good weekend.
You all, you too, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
Good Shabbos, Paul.
Shabbos.